Good evening, everybody. Today I will take the fifth topic in our sericulture, book. In fact, which is going to be the different kinds of breeding stations that are present. So, what I'm going to do is share my screen with you so that you can just have a look at it. Just a second. Right. Share. Right. So there are many breeding stations that are present in the different kinds of places based on that. Again, in India itself, of course, in the world you have seen already that there are there in according to the races and the geographical locations, there are different kinds of races. You have the Japanese, the European, the Chinese, and the tropical races. Now in India, we have something called as the Silkworm Seed Organization, and we also have something called as the breeding stations that are present, like I already have told you. And then different kinds of breeding stations, and you have a Silkworm Seed Organization. Then you have a basic seed multiplication center. There are many places. In fact, we have one in Hyderabad itself. If you go towards, there's a silkworm center, in fact, near the Tirumalgiri Road. And you also have the seed cocoon rearer and the seed crops. And then you have seed cocoon markets. Of course, you need some kind of a market for, the purchase of better quality silkworm cocoon, so that, they have good reliability and good filament length and filament width coming up. And then you have the Legislation Act, which governs how good or how bad or the quality of the silk that's coming out, the raw silk and the processed silk as such. And let us just have a look at it. So, what exactly are the silk seed grainages? Silkworm, what exactly is the Silkworm Seed Organization? And we are going to have a small understanding about the seed multiplication centers, crop markets, and the rules governing them. So, silkworm eggs are your seeds. So, they are the most important basic material that is going to come. So, good quality seed is something which is free from different kinds of diseases, no viral or bacterial infection. Good quality eggs are going to come, which gives good hatching, and you do not have unhatched eggs, and then you get a good cocoon coming out of those particular eggs, in fact, and then you have a stable cocoon crop, which is also going to be important. Now, for maintaining all of this, you need particular centers which maintain the purity, and you have disease-free atmosphere present, and at the same time the conducive atmosphere for the silkworm or silkworm breeding and rearing. So such kind of places where the silkworms, right from the eggs to cocoon to the pupal stages and to the adults, are present. Where are they present? They are present in breeding stations. So you have a state department involved, and then you have a National Silk Board which is present. Then you have the State Department in Sericulture, Department of Sericulture as it is known as. Then you have National Silkworm Seed Organization, or NSSO, which is a part of the Central Silk Board. And then you have private licensed seed producers. Not everything is under the control of the government, except for the fact that the rules are followed. You have privatization. You have the private sector also involved in the silkworm breeding stations. So this LSP, licensed seed producers, they're all the agencies involved in the commercial silk seed production. Now, around 95% of the silk that is produced in India is bivoltine. So, 2 times hatching in its lifetime. So, bivoltine in nature, requirement of the silkworm, it shows that we have around a shortage. Despite the fact that there is so much of market, especially for silk, we have a shortage of it by around 6.5%, 6.43 to be more precise. So there's always a profit. This is a profit-making business, in fact, if you're into it. Now, these stations, wherever the seeds are produced, they are the reproductive seeds that are going to be produced. And the production of the seeds is going to be different from the commercial production or the commercial seed that is there. Now, what are these commercial seeds? They are your F1, that is the first filial generation. Two inbred lines or two lines are taken, bred, and your first filial generation hybrid is your commercial seed. And this is going to be produced by crossing a pure local race with a pure line male, which is high yielding in quality, quantity, and usually of the bivoltine type. Now, reproductive seeds are generally pure lines of both the local that is present. Local means Mysore, for example, or you have the Tassar, Assam, Muga, or the Kashmir, that local along with a high yielding race. Rarely F1 hybrids is used as a reproductive or used for the production of a double cross commercial hybrid. So parents used for this commercial seed production usually present or they are reared in the breeding stations. And whatever number of the pure breed parents are there, they are going to be from a grainage. That is the place where you breed. They're too large to be obtained by just one step. That is a single multiplication step from the actual stock or the seed stock or the germ plasm. So you have generally around 3 or 4 bivoltine stage multiplication that is being carried out to produce the parents for the commercial seed production. So in order to preserve the different kinds of characters and you do not want to mix up all the races together, each of the multiplication is going to be carried out at different stations rather than in only the same place. So no confusion, you're going to send the once one race is done or once one multiplication is done, then that particular seed is going to be sent to another station so that there is no mixing up of any kind of races. Now, as I told you already, we have a silkworm seed organization. Now, this is going to be the maintenance of the breeder stock that is present and how many times you're going to multiply and finally how much of the commercial hybrid seed that you're going to get. Like I already told you, commercial hybrid seed involves two pure inbred or at least one inbred line along with high yielding male line, again another pure inbred line. So how many times this multiplication is going to take place, how much quantity of this commercial hybrid seed is going to be obtained, all of this will be taken care of by the silkworm seed organization. So maintenance of breed characters such as the quality, quantity, purity, vigor is very important when it comes to the seed. So you have something called as the breeder stock maintenance, which is the responsibility of every breeding organization and especially the research institutes where there is research going on the seeds. So they have to supply and they usually supply the basic seed that is there for further multiplication to take place. Now, these breeder stocks will be multiplied around 3 to 4 times in a year and especially during the favorable months. Like I told you, bivoltine, so they usually are not good at summer, but then unfavorable conditions also, if you've got to, multiply, then accordingly, based on the conducive months, the multiplication is going to take place and different multiplication levels are going to be designated as P3, 2, 1, etc. So it's a 3 tier. So 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of system followed and it is quite efficient. And at the same time, it is followed in all the sericulture. So in all the silkworm breeding countries. And this breeder stock and multiplication centers should be under the control of the government to maintain quality. And we also have something called as the multiplication cycles. Now this is going to be there because whatever basic seed is available, it has to be multiplied and it should be present from 4 to 3 cycles, not more than that, not less than that. So this reduces the cycles of the basic seed multiplication. Now also, one more thing that we are going to see is, we are going to produce only that much amount of quality of cocoons that we need. So only the required quantity so that this can be laid for further supply. Not more than that because of the wastage that is involved and it is a high cost procedure that is going to be there because we have to maintain the conducive environment as well. And then If you produce large quantity of cocoons and large layings, it is not going to help in any manner. Now we have something called as, like I already told you, different multiplication levels, having different kinds of like, what do you call it, breeding and multiplication that is taking place. So in that, we have the P4 and the P3 stations. So in the P4 and the P3 stations, normally what is happening is you're going to take multi-volted mulberry silkworm races. It can be of any kind of breed, and they are multiplied in the three-tier system. And they're going to be started at the P3 station. It is just designated as P3 station. We will come back to it later. So if at all there are any kind of purebred races, bivolted, and they are exotic in nature, and if at all there are any kind of multi-volted races which are rare, then you go for the four-tier multiplication system and you begin at the P4 station. So any kind of race is going to go first to either the P4 station if you want 4, that is exotic, or exotic purebred bivolted, or rare multivolted. You first start from the P4, then come to P3, then to P2, then to P1. If you're starting at a normal multi-volted mulberry silkworm, then you go from P3, then come to P2, then to P1. So this is how the tier system works. Now these stations are also known as the race breeding stations. Major germplasm banks. So you have the silkworm germplasm also present, and the government is in charge of all these places where you have commercial granite seeds and their previous progeny. They have used the term great grandparents and grandparents for easy understanding basically. So this is present in such kind of breeding stations. And they do a lot of research on these silkworms, so that end of the day, we are looking at very good silk that is coming. And if you see a really good quality silk, whatever you call it, Kanchipattu or Banarsi silk and Kashmiri silk, Muga silk, or your Mysore crepe silk, all of this, the really good ones go in lakhs. So this is the kind of quality. If it has to be maintained, you need to do research to come up with the proper solution of maintenance, and at the same time quality of it is being maintained. So they also undertake the research opportunities and experiments. So aim is to maintain the purity of the races. They rear only purebreds and no hybridization is done except for research. So again, these purebreds differ in their resistance to disease, tolerance to environmental conditions, response to the different kind of variety of mulberry leaves that are being given, and other factors. So rearing of each race is, therefore, it's going to be done separately by a method called as the cellular method of rearing. And every time each laying of a race is done, it is going to be separately in different trays. No mixed or no mix up is going to be there. And you have a different kind of mulberry variety which is suitable for that particular race. Then it is mounted, harvested separately. And then you have no mass rearing of even the same race. So you're not going to do it in bulk, even though if it is the same race. If you do quality, then if it is large in quantity, then the quality might come down. So everything is done in batch wise, at a limited batch wise at that matter. As it requires a lot of knowledge, extensive amount of knowledge regarding each particular race. So what is done is rearing is done only by those people who are qualified to do and who are experienced. So 25% of the best of the cocoon is selected, sent to the station for the next lower level for multiplication. So P3 to P2 to P1, P4 to P3 to P2 to P1. So remaining cocoons are going to be at the station itself, because you're selecting only 25% of the best cocoons. And this is sent to the lower. So remaining cocoons are going to be present in that particular station itself, and they are known as your breeder stock egg. Now P4, P3 stations are usually located at places that are cooler. So cooler parts of the country, ideally suitable for bivoltan rearing, and multi-voltans also can be reared. So like I told you, let us just have a look at the procedure for multiplication of the basic stocks at P3, P4 level. So you're going to plan, you're going to make a schedule of the basic seed production based on the amount of eggs that are required for the next level of multiplication. So it is an integrated program that has to be present to supply the eggs to various multiplication sector. Then you're going to prepare a flow chart and a supply program for every year in advance. So if it is 2024 that you want, you must have prepared in 2023 itself. For the next year, 2025, keeping in view a lot of other factors that are there, you're going to make a plan and a flow chart and a supply program in the year 2024 itself. Then this is going to be done so that you have an effective monitoring of the production supply of the basic seed. Then you have around, you're going to take a brush of around 10 to 30 DFLs of each breed in the cellular batches. And this is again going to be dependent upon the amount of layings that you need. So demand and supply chain, purely commercial. Then you're going to count all the larvae that are still alive after the third molt and retain till spinning. Then whatever dead larvae are there, dead pupae, cocoons, malformed cocoons which are not proper, stained cocoons, and those cocoons having a thin shell, etc., they are going to be sorted out. Only the live pupae cocoons are taken for calculation. We have already seen the quantitative methods to calculate different kinds of percentages. Then you have to calculate the pupation rate based on the number of live pupa that are present. And this can be known by sound when the cocoon is shaken gently. And then extreme low pupation percentage batches are going to be rejected then and there. So it should be 10 VO, that is your below the average. Then you're going to calculate the pupation rate for the number of the larvae brushed or the third molt larvae present. Then deduct the number of the oozy infected. So some kind of infection, if it is present, you're going to discard that. And muscardine affected, if any. So you have to deduct these infected larvae, if any, from the original number. Then calculate the pupation rate only for the remaining number of larvae that are present. Randomly, you're going to take around 50 to 60 cocoon and check from each batch, that is, and then check their gender. So you can do a sex separation. Like I already told you, yellow and white distinction in between the cocoons will give you the sexes. So after sex separation, you're going to record the mass cocoon weight, shell weight, and cocoon shell ratio separately for both the male and the female cocoons. So, and then you're going to take the mean of both the sexes in each batch. Now you're going to calculate the cocoon weight, shell ratio of all the batches in the breed and select only the batches that are present above average for pupation in each breed. After this, you're going to eliminate the batches that have produced cocoons which are not having proper shape, which are having a thin shell, and they do not have a proper growth performance. After this, in case it is at the P4 station, select the batches scoring above average for all three traits. What are we looking at? Cocoon weight, cocoon shell weight, and shell ratio. And you're going to select a minimum of 3 batches. Then only if they fall above average, you're going to send it to P3. In case of P4, select individual cocoons also. This should be done if once the breeder is present and he or she should be able to tell the individual cocoons how good they are in quality. In P3, what is done is batches that are above average are selected or nearer to average for the above 3 traits again. What are they? Cocoon weight, and shell ratio. Then like in P4, minimum 3 batches are selected. So we are not going to go for individual cocoon selection over here in P3 batches. Select only the batches based on the merit. And every rearing, the P3 should be obtained from the P4. So whatever P4 is going to actually select and send the above average batches to P3 station, and then again this process is continued. Selected batches in in P3 is again of each breed, that is both the F4 and the F3 generation are going to be interbred. So we are done with F1, F2. Now we are looking at F4 and F3. They're going to be interbred. Interbatch crossing is done for raising the next generation. That is 1 into 3, 2 into 3, 3 into 1, etc. Depending upon the number of DFLs that are necessary, we have to keep equal number of male and female pupae for the egg production. So to prepare 100 DFLs, you need 300 female, 300 male pupae to be kept. If there is a shortage, that is less number of males, then use the same male 2 times for egg production. After egg laying, the mother moths will be tested for pebrine test individually. Then you have to make a provision so that all these eggs that are going to come from P4, P3 are going to be under different hibernation schedules. So you need to see that, how they are preserved in a better condition. So, and then you have to replace the stock once or twice in a year, because you can't keep maintaining the same stock, because again it will lead to quality decrease. So once it is from P4 and P3, you're going to have P2 stations. Now these are going to produce your foundation stock seeds, and they also are going to be your germplasm banks. They are going to get the seed cocoons from the above, that is your P4 and P3 stations, especially the P3, because P4 gives rise to P3, P3 gives the stock to the P2. So always P2 will receive stock from P3 stations only, not directly from P4. Here also multiplication of purebred races is performed. There is no hybridization there. And each laying of the mother moth is going to be reared individually and mounted separately by the cellular method of rearing. So you do not have any kind of mingling of different kinds of racial characters. And again, 25% of the best cocoons in each laying is taken, sent to the next station, that is your P1 station, again for multiplication. Remaining 75% is for replenishing the stock that is present or for reeling. This is where your commercial silk starts coming in. Since the commercial grainages are 2 levels below the stations, they are the places where the grandparents of the commercial layings are reared. So you say that is the term is grandparents, but basically you get it right. It is F1, F2, F3. So F1 gives rise to F2. So your F2, F3 will call F1 as, F3 will call your F1 as the grandparents. Now, when it comes to multiplication of silkworm breeds at the P2 stage, for every rearing that is there, the laying should be from the P3 stock only. And depending upon the requirement, again P1, P2, the DFL rearing should be prepared. To produce around 1000 P1 DFLs, you need 6000 pupae, which are again divided into 3000 male, 3000 female. Obviously, they are all in good condition. So you know that you are going to get again the progeny, but then approximate rate is around 50% of the total larvae brushed. So which is going to be around 12,000 larvae that are going to come. And around 5 to 10 DFLs are always brushed in mass. And after the cocoon harvest, you're going to remove the dead cocoons, the different kinds of malformed cocoons if present, if at all any kind of stain is there, or thin shelled and thin, what do you call it, cocoons if at all present. Then again, you're going to take out the live pupae cocoons that are there and calculate the pupation rate. You're going to adopt the mass cocoon assessment of around 50 to 50 male, 50 females in each batch. Then you're going to see the record, or record. Check and record the cocoon weight, shell percentage, as you have already done in the same manner what was done in P4 and P3. You're going to perform the same thing in P2 as well. And then you're going to record the data. It's always available to the breeders. And then whatever undesirable cocoons are there, you're going to remove them. And then you're not going to select any kind of cocoon here also. Unlike your P4, only in P4 individual cocoon selection was performed. But in P3, P2, it's not being seen. And then utilize all the cocoons for the P1 laying production. Again, after the egg laying, the mother moths should be subjected for pebrine tests. Then again, you're going to make or record all the data, and you're going to upload the data in your basic seed farms. When it comes to your P1 stations, what is happening is this is where the reproductive seed cocoons are present and they are re-reared. That is, they are the parents of the commercial layings. They receive the seeds from P2 stations and the seed cocoons are mass reared and the first hybridization of double cross is being done over here. And the hybrids that are actually produced in this particular P1 stations are called as your foundation hybrids. And again, 25% of the cocoons produced to this are sent, they are acting as the parents for the commercial layings present. The purpose of the pur- the purpose of the sorry one 10 minutes. Yeah. So, like I told you, we have to check for what do you call it? They act as the parents for commercial layings. So, the purpose of this 3 or 4 tier system is basically so that you're going to get finally the pure bred races, and you do not have any kind of decrease in the characters or the traits or the quality. So, if you assume that on an average, you have couple of mods is 400. So 600 in bivoltage and 250 in local multivoltage. And then you have 4 lakh layings, which is the requirement of a particular place. So the grainage actually requires 1 lakh or around 5,000 pure breed moths of the local race and 1 lakh or 5,000 pure breed moths or of the bivoltage pure breed moths for producing the required amount of layings. So this is a large number, because of which this cannot be available from a single germplasm bank and at the same time in a single multiplication. So you have around 10 moth germplasm banks, that is 5 pairs. The P3 station will produce around 2000 seed cocoons, out of which only 25% is being sent to the next station, that is your P2. So out of 2000, 25% is around 500 moths or 500 seed cocoons, out of which 250 are male, 250 are female, and they are resent to the next station. Thus, the population is built up 50-fold to each level of multiplication. So you have the multiplication process. Racial characters are not going to be diluted as such, and sufficient stock is going to be maintained for breeding. So you see at the P4, P3 level, you have individual laying in the cellular brushing. And then you have the batch, which is the batch bedwise cocoon harvest, calculation of the pupation rate taking place, assessment of 50 to 60 male female for the cocoon weight shell ratio, calculation of the mean of the batch for your weight and shell ratio, selection of the batches that are above average in the fourth filial generation, nearer to that of the average in the P3. Then you're going to remove the undesirable cocoons, and again you're going to select the gender, and again you do inter batch or bed crossing, preparation of the P3 layings from the P4 and P2 layings from the P3 in the same manner. At the P2 level, what is happening is mass rearing of 50 to 10, 5 to 10 DFLs. So what exactly is DFL in sericulture? That is basically disease-free laying, that is the eggs. So mass rearing of 5 to 10 disease-free layings. So the worms are introduced to DFLs. They are produced from the quality center, which is known as the grainage. And then bulk of this is done by small farmers usually. So in one DFL, you have around 300 to 350 eggs that have around 80 to 85% of hatching. So this is the statistics as such. So your DFL stands for your disease-free layings. Now, once your mass rearing of the 5 to 10 DFLs is done, you have the batch-wise cocoon harvest and assessment. Then you're going to mix all the good cocoons from all the batches and prepare the P1 stations DFLs, disease-free layings. And then you have basic seed multiplication centers over here. And then what you do is basically you collect data from all the seed farms in a systematic manner on how good or how the rearing performance of the different kinds of breeds. And this is very important pertaining to the basic seed farms. This actually helps in evaluating the merits of different silkworm breed characters so as to facilitate selection of batches on merit to provide good seed quality for further multiplication. How is production of P1 cocoon done? P1 cocoons or the parent seed cocoons P1 are necessary for industrial hybrid seed production, and this is again organized by your private sectors. So the seed areas are going to be distinct with regards to your bivoltan and multivoltan breeds. Now when it comes to the parent seed cocoon production, this is organized through selected seed rearers who are there and respective seed production centers. In such areas, you have different agencies that are responsible for the hybrid seed production to be produced, and they should involve directly so that they produce the seed cocoons by adopting different number of seed rearers. Now we need to keep basic rules. We need to follow basic rules before entering a seed rearing house, seed production house, and a sericulture area as such. So maintain hygienic conditions, wash hands and feet before entering the rearing house. And then you need to keep a separate set of slippers in such when you're going into a young age and a late age rearing houses and a leaf storage room so that you're maintaining hygienic conditions. It is restricted. You do not have visitors. Probably, you have glass channels and all that wherever there is any kind of where you can see, and you do not have any kind of leaf supplier to enter the rearing house. All the leaf baskets should be collected by the rearing staff at the doorstep itself. Do not touch the worms by hand. Use chopsticks or forceps for picking the worms and spreading on the rearing bed. Collect the deceased, dead, and undersized worms using unused leaves or old newspaper and put them into the basin containing formaldehyde. So there is no contamination. And then you have to, you should not litter in such a place, maintain clean hygienic conditions. Start the bed cleaning after you spread a Rexin sheet or a gunny cloth on the floor, and you have to keep disinfecting them every day after use. Then after this, keep 2 sets of nets for cleaning the bed, and then apply lime and bleaching powder around the house, rearing house regularly so that there is no kind of contamination or infection. Now, once the seed cocoon rearer and seed crops are present, you're going to see that they have to be healthy, hygienic, and you have to see that the characters are maintained. So this is done by technically skilled people. And seed cocoons are usually reined in P1 stations, and they're not able to maintain or cope up with the amount of cocoons that are necessary. So a part of the rearing of seed cocoons is going to be given to highly skilled farmers who have been given skilled or special license for carrying the worm, and they will be given a price that is premium price 50% higher than the commercial cocoon price. Choice of the rearer is made after taking into consideration quite a number of criteria. Rearer should have scientific knowledge of the drainage operation. Silkworm rearing and interest in the sericulture should be present for such kind of person. They have to have an interest in the sericulture. cooperate with the drainage personnel, and then you should have mulberry gardens. That person should have mulberry gardens, should be cultivated following the new package of practices. They should have good supply of good quality leaves. Rearing house should be suitable. It should be present in an area wherein your pure breed rearing is present. You have to have facilities having optimum rearing conditions and should be free from germs of silkworm diseases. Easy access to drainage for the technical support and advice should be present. Once this is done, we have markets for the seed cocoons. So for procurement of the seed cocoons, you should have a pebrine free and conform to the norms. Pebrine is a disease that is actually there, inflicting the silkworm moths. So that what will happen is then the pupation rate will be high. It will not go down because of no kind of disease. Norms fixed according to the season, such as the cocoon weight, pupation rate, and racial characters. So the cocoon should be uniform in character. That is, they should have a good size, shape, color, and drainage authority should ensure that the nature of the rearing, the environmental conditions that are present during the rearing, and the health of the cocoons are being maintained. And accordingly, the cocoons are selected from such kind of places only. In the cocoon market, the grainage authorities will purchase the required quantity of the multi-Voltin cocoons, and there is a government auction taking place. So you have a government market officer, and as per law only this cocoon, multi-Voltin cocoon auction is going to take place. Half quantity of the bivoltin cocoons also are purchased from the bivoltin cocoon markets. So you're going to have a preparation of hybrid seeds. Then the seed cocoons are packed loosely in perforated boxes or the bamboo baskets in small quantities. Aeration is present and transported during the cool hours of the day. So probably early in the morning or late in the night. If live cocoons are going to be tightly packed, then due to respiration, they're going to get heated up. Exposure of hot sun is going to result in dead cocoons and poor emergence. So accordingly, cool conditions should be maintained to transport the live cocoons and the live seeds. So to oversee all of this, you have different something called as a Seed Legislation Act, and it has 5 traditional sericulture states, which are Karnataka, AP, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Jammu Kashmir, and they have passed the Silkworm Seed Legislation Act. And accordingly, the respective state departments of the sericulture also control. And you have a national silk board which is present under national silk silk consortium as well. So what do the state departments, that is your DSO, Department of Sericulture, what do? They organize generation of the parental seed cocoons, the transaction in the markets to different agencies. They're going to give you or issue the licenses if at all you want to take up your silkworm seed production, and they also are going to perform the inspection, renewal or cancellation of these licenses accordingly, and they're going to give the quality certification of the silkworm seed that is going to be produced. At the same time, they're going to monitor if at all that particular area or silkworm wherever you're rearing, you have a disease monitoring or control measures, and then they are also going to give or impart training in the seed production technology. So this is all about the silkworm breeding stations and the State Legislation Act. Let us just summarize this. So we know that there are stations where reproductive seeds are produced. Different, finally, and the reproductive seeds are different from the production of the commercial seeds. So commercial seeds are mostly F1 hybrids produced by crossing a female of the pure local race with a pure line male of high yielding bivoltin race. Reproductive seeds are generally pure lines of both local and high yielding races, and rarely the F1 hybrids are used for the production of a double cross commercial seed. And there are seed organizations which comprise or which consist of the maintenance of the breeder stock, multiplication for the ultimate production of the large quantity of commercial hybrid seeds. And then when you get the seeds of multi-Voltin mulberry silkworm races, Can be anything, purebred or crossbred. This is again multiplied in a tier system, P4, P3 tier system, P3 stations. So they are present in colder parts or colder regions of a country, for example, Jammu and Kashmir. So where you have bivoltane and multivoltane rearing taking place. P2 stations produce the foundation stock seeds, serve as the germplasm banks. P1 stations are the places where you get the reproductive seed cocoons by the grainages, and they are reared by that is the parents of the commercial eggs. And the production of the parent seed cocoons P1 needed for the industrial hybrid seed is going to be organized by the private sector. You have auctions also taking place regarding the same. So this is about Unit 5, your silkworm breeding stations. Now, when it comes to selection of seed cocoons, I will have to actually start with this Unit 6 also. In this, we are going to see briefly how we have to identify or do the pupal examination and how we are going to select the good seed cocoons. So how is the cocoon selected and how is the pupal examination done and how are you going to process the cocoons? So accordingly, we'll just have a look at it. So selection, preservation of the silkworm seed cocoons is extremely important to maintain the quality and the quantity of cocoons and its characteristics. So favoring the grainage, you have wherein you have to favor the grainage where a good quality of seed is produced. So you have to identify what is a bad cocoon and remove it. And if the percentage of bad cocoons is more, the whole batch should be rejected. Now, selection of the seed cocoons, when it comes to that, basic criteria is it should be pebrine free, that is disease free, conform to the norms, especially regarding the pupation rate. Your fifth instar is going to be important. After the third moulting, how many of the cocoons are going to go for the pupil, and then the pupil mount a molt after the third molt is also important, so as to get a good silk, what do you call it, good silk in fact. And you have to see the cocoon weight, pupation rate and the racial characteristics. These are very important. When it comes to the cocoon selection, then the seed cocoons, they're going to be harvested a day later than the industrial cocoons. So 6 days after completing of the spinning in hotter areas, 7 days in cooler areas. So depending upon the area also, you have to choose the time to spin it and harvest it. After harvesting, again you're going to do a preliminary sorting to eliminate cocoons that are thin-shelled, cocoons that are too flimsy to look at, and if at all any double seed cocoon is present, you can retain it for seed production. Then you're going to pack them in loose boxes. They can be bamboo baskets or perforated, that is boxes with holes in them, in small quantities, transported during the early morning hours or late evening hours, cooler hours of the day. The live cocoons are tightly packed. They're going to see, they're all live creatures. So there is going to be respiration. Whenever there is respiration, there is going to be heat. So that heat produced, even if at all they are tightly packed, is going to harm them. Exposure to hot sun will result in the pupa being dead, and otherwise also cocoon to pupa stages, poor emergence, malformed creatures. So, how is it that you're going to do pupil selection or pupil examination? So, to produce a good quality and healthy eggs, the seed cocoons that are going to be there are should be of a high quality and they should be good in health. So, the seed cocoons that are going to come to the grainages or the quality centers, seed centers, they are going to have a very stringent selection method. So only those which are really good, sound, uniform cocoons, that have that are there in the parental characteristics according to the norms of the race from which the parental stock is coming, they are going to be selected. The defective, deformed, malformed, oversized, double, stained, otherwise infested, either muscadine infested or oozy infested, or dead cocoons, open-ended, melted cocoons, all of these are taken away. They are rejected then and there. Then advanced detection of pebrine disease is performed before any kind of operation of each batch starts. So that what you're going to do is you're going to prevent a greater loss at the grainage facility itself. So this is facilitated by investigation at 3 stages: pupa test, post occlusion test, or first day moth examination. So 3 types of tests are present. You can see this is how the seed cocoon assessment is performed. And in the pupa test, what is happening is the gut of the pupa is a reliable test for the disease pebrine detection than the entire pupa. So sample of the pupa is tested from each batch of cocoons. This pupa is cut ventrally. Instead of wasting the whole batch as such, you can take one pupa, check it out. So you're going to take the pupa and then see egg, larva, pupa, and adult. All of these are the live creature silkworms phases. So you're taking one live pupa, which is the other form, that form of the silkworm. Cut it ventrally below the wing bud by a scissors. Then you're going to hold the pupa between the thumb and the finger in the left hand, forefinger in the left hand. Then after cutting it, you're going to press the pupa gently. You're going to, this is my left hand. You're going to press the pupa gently. Then if the midgut oozes out a brown body from the cut portion, so this midgut is collected and you're going to crush it with few drops of potassium hydroxide in a moth crushing set that is present. Fluid is taken in the slide and examined under a microscope having a magnification of 600. If at all there is pebrine disease, in this stock, the whole stock will be already affected. So the entire batch of cocoons is rejected, sent to the market. Such cocoons will never be used for silkworm seed production under any kind of circumstances because it has a pebrine disease. Now, processing of the cocoons. When this is done, you get to see that this is also called as a cocoon sorting, where good, bad cocoons are going to be separated from the cocoon lots. So again, pebrine disease should not be there. So they are going to be either having a flimsy shape, or they are going to be stained, doubled, malformed. You can see thin-shelled cocoons, thin-end cocoons, outside stained cocoons, inside stained and dead worm cocoons, double cocoons, paired cocoons, deformed cocoons, and with frame marks. All such kind of bad cocoons are rejected then and there. So batches of cocoons having showing higher percentage of melting are going to be sent to the reeling centers. Otherwise, no. Only good cocoons of quality forming to the breeds are selected. They're going to be preserved. Deflossing of cocoons is again done so that you do not have any kind of exclusion. So easy exclusion of the moth is taking place. And now, bad cocoons are going to be stifled, killed, or sent to cocoon market. Unhealthy cocoons are, it is not good or healthy to keep such kind of cocoons in the drainage where there's always a chance of the bad cocoons infecting or affecting the other batches. So how is it that you're going to calculate the good and the bad cocoons percentage based on the number and weight? So percentage of bad cocoons is weight of the bad cocoons by total weight of all the cocoons that are present into 100. We are looking at the percentage. Or total number of bad cocoons by total number of cocoons. That is all cocoons into 100. How is it that you're going to calculate the percentage of good cocoons? Same manner. Weight of good cocoons by weight of total number of cocoons into 100, or total number of good cocoons by total number of cocoons into 100. Now total cocoons is both good cocoons plus bad cocoons put together or all together. Now there's a problem that's been given over here. The number of dead, double, pierced, all of it is given. Good cocoons is also given. Weight in grams is given. So what is it that you're going to see over here? Percentage of bad cocoons, you have the weight of bad cocoons by weight of total cocoons. So total cocoons 1475. Weight of bad cocoons is going to be around, you're going to calculate the whole thing and then let us know. So weight, if at all you want to find out the percentage of good cocoons, weight of good cocoons by that is 1870 by total weight, that is 2363 into 100. So percentage by number, you're going to find out total number of good cocoons, total number of bad cocoons, and total number of cocoons and weight. So number and weight is given over here. You have to see, you remember the quality, I mean the formula for you to calculate, if at all this kind of questions are asked. Now, percentages based on the individual bad, that is individual dead cocoons percentage is 110 by 1475 into 100, around 7.45%. So you can just have a look at it. So this is how you're going to see. Okay. Number and weight is given. Now, if we have to summarize this particular lesson, and then you can actually see over here percentage of dead cocoons. I think the number is wrong over here. If you see, dead cocoons is 110 by 1475 they have given. So if you see over here, dead cocoons, they have actually given 100. So you just have to look at it. And in case if you want to know the percentage of double cocoons, it is 20. So it is 20 over here. 20 by total cocoons, which is 1475 into 100. And if you want the number, this is how you do. Weight, if you want to know, weight is 120 grams by total weight is 2363 grams into 100. So you're going to see over here also it is the number 110, it should be 100. So please have a look at it. And then it is 120 by 2360. So percentage of individual bad cocoons by number, by weight is being given. And good ones also you can do in the same manner. So check, if in case we have to summarize this particular lesson, we get to see that selection, preservation of the silkworm seed cocoons is quite important because it decides the quality and the quantity of cocoons and its characters. The basic criteria for us to get seed cocoons, that is known as the procurement, should be that it should be disease free, that is pebrine free, and it should follow the norms, especially regarding the pupation rate. Okay, and it should confirm, that is what it should follow or conform to the norms regarding the pupation rate. Now, the seed cocoons, that they have to be harvested one day later than the industrial cocoons or your commercial cocoons. In selection, only the good ones which are sound, that is of good weight, quality, shell weight is maintained, shell thickness is maintained, and uniformity is maintained, no thin end, thick end, stained, dead, all of this for that matter. Only sound, uniform cocoons conforming to the characteristics, that is following the characteristics of the race of the parental stock are selected. Defective, deformed, undersized, oversized, double, stained, dead, oozy or muscardine infested, thin end, open end, melted cocoons, all of these are rejected there. In the pupa test, you're going to perform it on the gut of the pupa. And this is a very reliable test, especially for pebrine detection than the entire pupa. So you're going to perform that to find out whether any kind of batch, if you take one pupa or two pupae from the batch and then check if at all it is pebrine infested, the whole batch is discarded. So that is one way. Instead of letting the entire batch suffer from pebrine infection and infecting the other batches also, such kind of batches, you do the pupa test, gut test basically, and then discard the batches if there is any kind of pebrine infection. Otherwise, that batch is passed on. And then you also, this is also known as the cocoon sorting, where good, bad cocoons are selected. Again, like I told you, different kinds of cocoon characteristics, size, stained, dead, infested, thin end, open end, melted, all of this rejected. And so the good and the bad cocoons are separated from the different kinds of lots. So this is all about your lesson of seed sorting basically. We have actually seen both two lessons today, which is selection of the seed cocoons and also the we have seen about your seed stations, seed breeding stations. Yesterday we had seen about the parental races, and today we started out with the lesson that is seed breeding stations, in fact. The breeding stations, wherein we actually had a look at the silkworm seed organization, multiplication centers P4, P3, P2, P1, then cocoon rarer seed crops, then seed cocoon markets. There's a private sector, and of course, you have options held by the government to give license, and then the Seed Legislation Act involving five states: Jammu Kashmir, AP, Telangana, Karnataka. So, yes, this is one thing. And then we have seen the selection of the cocoons. So there are five states involved, like I already told you. Those are your Karnataka, AP, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Jammu Kashmir. I'm sorry, it is not Telangana. Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Jammu Kashmir. They passed the Seed Legislative Act, Silkworm Seed Legislation Act. So that is one thing. And then we have seen the silkworm seed cocoons, how they are selected. Yeah, thank you so much for today. Next class, we'll just have a look at the next block, that is the drainage, silkworm seed production, egg preservation, and hybridization. And then we're going to have a look at the acid treatment of silkworms, byproducts, and the economics. So tomorrow I will be covering drainage and silkworm seed production along with egg preservation and hybridization. So we have two more classes left. So these two blocks will be completed over there. Thank you. When it comes to the grainages, we'll have to look at it and tell you, like, let me tell you, in fact, the basic topic about it. We're going to see the different kinds of seed production centers, different types of grainages that are present. What is the basic plan of this? What are the kind of equipments that are used? And how do you transport and preserve the seed cocoons that are present? So this is important. So tomorrow I will be dealing with this particular lesson. Thank you.